For my remarks, I'd like to focus a bit on defense procurement in the past and the present and in the future. Looking back, one of the most difficult periods for the Canadian Armed Forces in recent history was the late 1970s and early 1980s. Successive governments had cut into the military budget, downsizing and reorienting the forces while delaying modernization. By 1980, the Canadian forces had faced obsolescence in the face of significant advances by the Warsaw Pact militaries. While downsizing had cut the military standing forces, it still retained a capable administrative system with enough institutional memory to execute these new programs. By 1990, the military replaced a number of its key capabilities, such as the CP-140, the CF-18, and the Leopard 1, while other ones, like the Halifax-class frigate and the Northwest Warning System, were on the cusp of being deployed. On the surface, Canada's situation today kind of resembles like the 1980s, and may even seem to be on the same trajectory if the 2017 Strong Secure and Engage was executed upon as envisaged. Unfortunately, the reality is far worse now than it was back then. Many of the same systems that we acquired in the 1980s are far beyond their rust-out dates and are not anticipated to be replaced for another decade or more due to failing program execution. While defense spending has increased over the past 8 years, much of it has gone to operational accounts due to growing international commitments. This has masked the growing dilapidated state of the military's capital base. In other words, our system of procurement is fundamentally broken. Deliveries of major capabilities can now be counted in decades, whereas years should be the norm. The remotely piloted air system, which will deliver a medium-altitude unmanned aerial vehicle, is about to enter its 17th year of existence without delivering a platform. By comparison, many of our allies, such as the United Kingdom, Germany, and France, have brought equivalent systems into service in under 4 years. These failures have occurred in an inopportune moment. As the international security environment has deteriorated rapidly in the wake of the Russian invasion of Ukraine and China, in the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and China's destabilizing efforts in the Indo-Pacific. Our allies have increased spending and launched a broad modernization of their forces, whereas Canada's efforts seem to be stalled by comparison. In short, the system of acquisition is fundamentally misaligned from the focus of delivering critical defense goods to our soldiers. Over the past 4 decades, it's become progressively slower and less able to meet the national defense needs for several factors. The first has been the increase in non-defense objectives in procurement, such as procurement, most notably delivering economic and social benefits to the Canadian society through these purchases. The second, a number of ill-perceived failures, such as the initial cancellation of the F-35 purchase in 2012, has resulted in ill-considered reforms. It has added layered upon layers of unnecessary process, diluting individual accountability, increasing costs, and delays in these programs. While our present situation is suboptimal, the real cause for concern is the Canadian Armed Forces of the future, which in reality is already here. Reflecting the rapid and fundamental evolutions in our societies we are experiencing due to the confluence of new technologies, warfare is undergoing a similar shift. What I outlined earlier is a 20th century approach to warfighting and procurement. Canada must move into the 21st century. A core consideration is information dominance strategy. In the United States, this exists under the Joint All-Domain Command and Control Approach, or JADC2. This doctrine seeks to aggregate and integrate information from all available sensors, analyze and disseminate it to all units that can effect action. Canada's major allies, including Australia, Germany, and the United Kingdom, are implementing similar approaches and have already drastically affected their force structures and doctrines among all of their services. On a granular level, a platform's connectivity and integration to existing networks and command and control systems are often as important as their physical attributes. Canada is not adjusted to this new reality. While Strong, Secure, and Engage did contain verbiage that acknowledged joint intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance utility for the battlefield, the Canadian Armed Forces has lagged far behind its allies in this area. For example, if we look at RPAS, the procurement has largely focused on physical capabilities, but minimal consideration was given to how it would play in a broad network environment. This would be akin to buying a top-of-the-line smartphone and only using to make phone calls. In many ways, this shift, when it comes, will be a fundamental one for the department and the government. Its implications will be profound and widespread, affecting not only the military operations, but how we procure systems. For some systems, such as software-enabled capabilities, how we approach will directly affect a military utility. It requires procurement approaches that are flexible, innovative, delivering capabilities that rapidly to our soldiers in order to face these new threats. I thank you for this time today.
Thank you.
I look forward to your questions and comments.